Do you know which brands are the biggest plastic polluters? Hi, I'm Anastasia, a climate psychologist coach and the author of Eco-Being training. Today we'll continue to explore the complex and often contradictory information surrounding plastics. I'll offer deeper insights to help you understand the diverse aspects of plastics and its far-reaching impact. And now we'll move on to where we can influence directly: consumption.
Don't get me wrong, this is all intentional. It's the wonderful cycle of throwing away and buying again that makes my fortune. If people didn't throw away and buy new items again, then I, Bertrand King, would no longer be the king of plastic.
It's the main stage where ordinary individuals, the consumers, have the power to affect change. It's in the everyday choices, the decisions at the supermarket, and the products we bring into our homes. Let's consider a general approach to packaging for consumer products. When purchasing items at a supermarket, they typically come pre-packaged in some form of plastic, whether it's a film, a container, or a wrapper. This packaging serves multiple purposes. It extends the shelf life of the product, makes it easier for the long-distance transportation, and offers a sanitary barrier, which is crucial in the mass production of items. The use of plastics in this context is a key example of how packaging can reduce spoilage and greenhouse gas emissions, as highlighted in reports like those from McKinsey. On the other hand, the necessity of such packaging can be re-evaluated, especially for local purchases. Let's recap from the previous video that 44% of plastic is used for packaging. Choosing products from local vendors often allows us to select minimal plastic packaging and enjoy items with fewer additives, aligning with eco-friendly preferences. It's worth considering whether we need to transport and keep it for a long time goods such as carrots or sausages, potentially opting for local unpackaged options instead. In our quest for sustainability, however, we must also keep practicality in mind to ensure our choices are realistic and manageable. To illustrate this, I want to share quite an embarrassing story that happened to me a few years ago. Once, on a cloudy day, I went to the local supermarket to buy groceries. The store, in an effort to be environmentally friendly, had recently eliminated plastic bags in favor of paper bags. I fully supported this initiative in spirit. And after finishing my purchases, I placed them in two big, sturdy paper bags, one in each hand. With a sense of ecological satisfaction, I headed for the exit. And of course, the rain was waiting for me. It wasn't just a drizzle, it was a downpour, but it didn't take me by surprise. My fall raincoat doesn't get wet. So I threw on my hood, grabbed my bags and walked to my car. Turns out my bags were not as prepared as I was. Their handles, once sturdy, had turned into a wet mess and they were disintegrating in my hands. I stood in the middle of the parking lot, groceries tumbling out of my bag onto the wet asphalt, a perfect picture of environmental irony. I was picking up the fallen groceries, having no idea how to carry it all to my car now. And suddenly, an elderly woman, noticing my struggle, held out her hand with a plastic bag. "Here, take this," she said. The plastic bag became a lifeline, and its sturdy and waterproof nature suddenly became not the villain, but the hero of my story. It held my groceries securely as I walked to my car. And this experience was an epiphany of sorts, a moment that made me reconsider my black and white view of sustainability. It highlighted the fact that while the path to sustainability is crucial, practicality cannot be ignored. It's reminded me that sometimes it's the nuances that matter, that perhaps the ideal solution lies not in absolutes, but in balance, a lesson that I carry with me to this day. When making purchasing decisions, it's important to consider the product life cycle and the principles of resource efficiency that I talked about in a past video. I will briefly explain how to do a short resource efficiency analysis applied to plastic when purchasing. So when we think about reducing, We could first ask ourselves if the product is necessary or if there is a plastic-free alternative. For example, choosing products with minimal or eco-friendly packaging can significantly reduce plastic waste. We could think about reuse on the stage of purchasing. We could opt for products that can be reused multiple times instead of single-use items. Reusable water bottles, cloth shopping bags, and refillable containers are excellent examples. Also, we need to think about recycling. It's better to prefer products that are recyclable or made from recycled materials. And please don't buy single-use plastic, which is not recyclable. By keeping the product life cycle and the resource efficiency in mind, we can make more informed and environmentally friendly choices. And this not only reduces our personal ecological footprint, but also drives demand for sustainable products, encouraging manufacturers and business to adopt greener practices. After consumption, as we continue our journey to understand the role of plastic in the circular economy, we have come to a critical step, determining the fate of a product after its use. At this stage, our choices, whether reuse, repair, recycling, or other sustainability options, play a key role in shaping the product's life cycle and environmental impact. If we did the analysis at the purchase stage, this issue has already been resolved. As we consider the life cycle of a product, our focus extends beyond immediate decisions to encompass the future fate of plastic items. It's not just about the momentary use, but understanding the long-term implications of our choices on the environment. When reusing plastic items, our intentions are often good, but the outcome might not always be environmentally beneficial. Take, for instance, the idea of using a plastic bottle as a flower pot. While it's a creative way to repurpose the bottle, this form of reuse can actually be problematic. Once the bottle is cut or altered to serve as a pot, it can no longer be recycled. Over time, as the plastic degrades, it may end up in a landfill, unable to be processed for recycling. And in this scenario, while the bottle gets a second life, it ultimately contributes to a plastic waste, as it becomes a non-recyclable item at the end of its use. When plastic items are designed or used in a manner that makes them unsuitable for recycling, they often end up as a litter. This waste, due to a lack of proper disposal or recycling options, can easily be discarded into rivers and other water bodies, subsequently flowing into the ocean. As a result, our seas are increasingly burdened with unrecycled plastic, causing severe environmental damage and threatening marine life. Marine environments are notably affected by the increasing presence of plastic waste. Annually, an estimated 8 million tons of plastic leaks into the ocean, persisting for centuries and breaking down into microplastics that accumulate over time. This issue primarily arises when plastic is not properly managed in coastal areas, allowing it to enter the ocean. The surge in plastic waste leakage correlates with the rise in plastic use. Research by Jambeck on 192 coastal countries reveals that these nations generate 275 million tons of garbage each year, with 4.8 to 12.7 million tons of plastic ending up in the ocean. China, Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam contribute up to 60% of the marine plastic waste. A critical concern in these countries is the rapid increase in plastic demand, outpacing the development of local waste management infrastructure. This mismatch results in ineffective disposal of waste. Additionally, it's important to recognize that high-income countries, including those in Europe and North America, export their plastic waste to these major emitting countries for recycling. Plastic debris in the oceans not only creates aesthetic issues, but also poses a significant threat to wildlife. Over time, this waste disintegrates into small, millimeter-sized fragments, known as microplastics. These tiny particles are often mistaken for food by zooplankton, which occupy the base of the food chain. Once ingested, microplastics can become embedded in the tissues of these organisms, The pervasiveness of the microplastics is alarming, as they have been detected in diverse and remote locations, including clouds over Mount Fuji, glaciers, and even in human blood. I remember I've promised to tell you who are the worst plastic polluters in the world. So, according to international research in 2020, shows that Coca-Cola products were the products that ended up in the environment the most. Worldwide, Coca-Cola produces 167,000 plastic bottles every minute. If you would put them in a line, they would go to the moon and back 31 times. Can you imagine? So it's a bad end-of-life scenario for plastic. But what's the good one? The end-of-life phase in the life cycle analysis of plastic is the most problematic stage. As I hope you've learned from these two videos, addressing the end-of-life challenges of plastic begins much earlier in its life cycle, with decisions made during the design, production, and consumption stages. The initial design of a product, the materials chosen for its creation, and the type of packaging employed play crucial roles in determining the ease of recycling and reusing plastic. Finally, our consumers' behavior significantly impacts the amount of plastic and packaging purchased and ultimately discarded. If done right, at this point, all we have to do is recycle or reuse the plastic we still have. I hope you found these videos about plastic both interesting and informative. If you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to stay updated on future discussions and insights. See you soon!